In round 3, Pete Alonso picked with the 4th pick in the 3rd round, and Freddie Freeman picked with the 9th pick in round 3. Let's pause a minute. Let me ask you this, guys. I know Freddie Freeman had the balking elbow in spring training. But do you think that will, with the late start, curtail his production? Or what do we think about Freeman, who was getting back into games, playing as Freddie Freeman? Now, if Freddie Freeman plays as Freddie Freeman, I know it's a points league, but going as the 29th pick in the draft, I really like that pick. That's the 2nd first baseman taken, and then the 3rd first baseman taken was Rizzo at 10 in the 4th round. Now, do you think Rizzo is the 3rd best first baseman in fantasy baseball? Do you think? Let's look at the first baseman who followed Rizzo. In round 5, Jose Abreu, the first pick. So the Linwood, who picked last in round 4, has the turnaround. He picks 2 first basemen in a row. He picks the 3rd first baseman off the board, Rizzo, as the 10th pick in round 4, and Jose Abreu as the first pick in round 5. I'm going somewhere with this. That's the 5th first baseman. No more first baseman taken in round 5. In round 6, the 6th first baseman off the board, Paul Goldschmidt, taking at number 8 in round 6. There's one name I haven't called yet. I'm getting ready to in a moment, because I picked him. After Goldie goes off, the 6th first baseman. The 7th first baseman off the board is Josh Bell, picked in round 7 at number 3. And then I picked my first baseman, the 8th first baseman off the board, the 5th pick in round 7, Matt Olson. Chat room. Matt Olson goes after Josh Bell. He goes after Goldie. He goes after Rizzo. What do you think about those apples? I want to read it. Chappie says he missed out on Olson. Yeah, I think it's a steal too, Chappie. I think I got a steal with Olson in the 7th round. The 8th first baseman, he was just sitting there. And I just don't think first base is deep. I think the 2 scarcity positions this year in a draft are first base and second base. There just aren't a lot out of them. Yeah, I couldn't believe I got him after Bell either. But I'll take that. Look what he did last year. Olson hit 37 home runs, and he missed at least 6 weeks at the beginning of the year. Add those 6 weeks in. What's that, another 8 or 9 home runs? So he's sitting at 45, and that's the kind of power he has. I just thought that was, for me, picking in round 7, a huge pick. That same round, at number 1 in round 7, Tyler Glasnow. Shohei Ohtani, picked by Kevin Hastings. Josh Bell, picked by, I'm not sure who Jersey Shores was. Anyway, Alberto Mondesi went before Olson. And as I scroll up to round 6, here's some other players who went before Olson. Jeff McNeil, Justin Turner, Chris Bryant. I'm telling you, look for values in drafts. So let's move along, because as we get through round 7, now we've had 70 players go off the board. We're into round 8. Chappie takes Victor Robles, number 1 in round 8. Remember, this is a 2 utility player league. Nelly Cruz goes second in round 8. And I'm thinking, if Olson was a great deal in round 7, Nelly Cruz was maybe a better deal in round 8. All he does is hit home runs. And the Twins continue to pound the baseball. Great pick, Nelly Cruz. There are other picks in this round. Max Muncy. Gavin Lux goes before Bo Bichette. What do you think about that? I get Bo Bichette as the 6th pick in round 8 to play my shortstop position. 2 picks earlier, Gavin Lux is picked. After Bichette, Guerrero, Josh Hader, Michael Brantley. We go to round 9, and we see Eduardo Escobar, Matt Chapman, Tommy Pham, Brandon Lau, and then I pick Eugenio Suarez. Suarez, the 5th pick in round 9, means he's the 85th pick overall. So here's you another contrast comparison question. Kevin Hastings takes Matt Chapman at 82 overall, 3 picks ahead of Suarez. I know early on Suarez had the injury, but it looked like he was getting ready to come back, had come back. Who do you like better in fantasy? Do you like, this is a total bases category, home run category, head-to-head with points. You don't have batting average. You don't have on-base percentage. Are they equal? Would you just as soon have Chapman as Suarez? Would you rather have Suarez than Chapman? I tell you, the only differentiation I make there is the ballpark factor. You've got Suarez playing half of his games at Great American, and you've got Chapman playing half of his games at Oakland Alameda. One very much a hitter's park, the other probably one of the worst 2 parks other than the Giant Park, Oracle Park in San Francisco. I think maybe the A's home field, the second worst park. And for that reason, I give Suarez a little bit of a bump. But it's close, right? One at 82, one at 85. Very comparable picks in very comparable spots. Following that round, pitchers are still going. Frankie Montas, Roberto Osuna, Sonny Gray, Mike Moustakas, and Chappie picks Andrew Benintendi, 10. I want to jump down to later rounds, shall we? This was a 28-round draft. And my take is we can split hairs on Suarez and Chapman. But through the first, say, 100 picks, typically you're going to all get good players. It's the later rounds that can determine fantasy championships. In this league, scoring-wise, hold saves is one category. So a hold counts the same as a save. And I could see players picking relievers early in this draft. Let me see if I can give you an example. I want to see the first reliever that came off the board. I'm looking here. Give me a second. Thank you for being patient. Josh Hader goes off the board, the first reliever, round 8 as the 8th pick. So there was a lot of waiting, if you will. After Hader, Roberto Osuna goes in round 9. Then it's a little bit of time before we see yet another reliever go off. Now, in this league, Jesus Luzardo is a reliever, but I'm the commissioner, so I set it up to have 5 starting pitcher slots, 3 relief pitcher slots, and 2 pitcher slots. So I'm not counting Jesus Luzardo as a relief pitcher. The third relief pitcher, true relief pitcher, Aroldis Chapman, round 11. And then we start to see them start to come off. Kirby Yates, round 12. Kenley Jansen, round 13. Nick Anderson, picked by Chappie, who I think could be a stud. The thing that concerns me about Anderson is not ability. It's just how Kevin Cash in that crowd, you might have one game, Diego getting a save opportunity. You might have, now they've said Anderson's going to get the primary bulk of them. But I can see that, particularly with this kind of season. But I still like that pick. Anderson's a good reliever. But he went in the 13th round. And then in round 14, we've got Taylor Rogers from Minnesota. So the stud relievers are starting to come off. And I'll tell you, by the time we get to round 23, they're all gone. They're all gone. All the stud closers are gone. And in that round, I see players like Tommy Edman, Drew Pomerantz, Andrew Haney, Ian Kennedy. And then it's my pick. Remember, holds and saves count the same. So I picked Daniel Hudson for the world champion Washington Nationals. Word out of Washington is if he's not the closer, he's going to be the main setup guy. I think he becomes the closer. And I think closing in Washington behind the Scherzers and the Strasburgs and the Corbins and the Sanchezes adds up to a similar season that Blake Trinan had for Oakland a couple of years ago. Someone that was not drafted or was drafted late and came up with similar numbers to the ace studs somewhere else. That was my research. That was my plan, to try to get Hudson, and I thought at round 23, that was the time to pounce on him because I didn't think he'd make it another round. And so I did. Round 24, Jose Urquidy picked by Chaplin, and Urquidy's going to be in that Houston rotation, and I like that pick a lot. Other picks in that round, I picked another reliever. I picked Dylan Betances. I think Dylan's going to strike out a lot. He's going to get a lot of holds for the Mets. What holds there are. Leclerc, Joe Jimenez, Justin Upton. You can see the kind of players that are going off the board in round 24. So now I'm looking to fill roster spots or to go for a player with a lot of upside. I don't have a catcher. I make it a point not to draft catchers. I'll get to that in a minute. In round 25, I'm still drafting my third reliever. This is a league with 3 RP slots. And I picked James Karinchak for Cleveland, and there's a reason for that. Similar to Daniel Hudson. Number one, Karinchak's going to play for a team that's going to win a lot of games. I think Cleveland wins a lot of games in that division. I don't know that they win the division with Minnesota there, but they win their share. Karinchak throws 100 miles an hour. He's the main setup guy for Brad Hand, and there's talk that should something befall Hand, then it becomes Karinchak's job to take as closer. Josh James, I understand, Jack, is going to the bullpen. That's my understanding. Now, when there's going to be a season and how are things going to flush out, all I can go are by reports I read. He should be a big arm in that bullpen for the Astros. And I do like your pen. Chapman, Hand, Keela, and Josh James. You got a lot of saves guys there. But remember, we're in a league where saves and holds count the same. So if you've got a holds guy who gets a lot of action, you're going to get similar numbers to a closer guy. So we'll see. James could be in that rotation. That number 5 slot is fluid right now, but everything I'm reading says James will be a reliever, but he will be one of those relievers to get a lot of innings, which I think makes him a great pick in fantasy this year. 2020 is not your normal year for fantasy drafting. That's an obvious comment, right? Let's look at the last 2 rounds. Let's look at the players picked in the last 2 rounds by everyone. So round 27, Mark Melancon. Now, I don't know what his role is going to be with Atlanta now. They go out, they sign free agent. But he's going to have some high leverage play. Again, hold saves count the same. Probably a good pick at 27. Petit for Oakland, picked by Kevin Hastings. High leverage again. Holds or saves count the same. Sin Soo Choo, whoever